right at the beginning. And that's going to be difficult. So we're going to have to speed some things up. So I'm going to have a few remarks now, and then we'll get started in a little bit. First, I want to thank everyone for coming. I know that in this weather, it was a big sacrifice for you, and we all really appreciate your coming. Thank you very much. We also have a couple of quick little notes. First, we want to thank Kendra Phillips has driven down from Seattle in this weather on Friday night to join us because our usual cast member who plays Mary, Sarah Thiessen, who's from here at the Senior Center, she's having her opening night with the Heart Sparkle Players across the street. So we really thank Kendra for coming down. I also want to make sure that you realize that our narrator, Judy Oliver, through some oversight by someone who I don't know who, I left her out of the program. You might think that's Freudian. I'm not even going to touch that. Judy's the heart and soul of our effort. She's going to be our narrator tonight, as she is every night. We want you to think about democracy. Consider that it could be threatened. Our title alone, "It Can't Happen Here," hopefully causes people to ponder the possibilities that America's most precious product, democracy, can be put at risk due to a presidential election. No. This is not about Democrats or Republicans. It's about preserving the systems and institutions that govern our country. The more people hear, talk, and message about the show, the more people see the show, the more people will be attuned to acts and deeds that threaten our life. It Can't Happen Here was an important American play 80 years ago, and it is still relevant today. The show tells the story of Americans who believed in a presidential candidate who claimed he could defend and protect them, but only if the people trusted him and gave him unfettered power. The voters gave him that power. They believed dictatorship can't happen here. They were wrong. Please listen to these words from 80 years ago and think about how they resonate today. Consider the issues raised by the play, discuss them, and remember the phrase, "It can't happen here," when you consider exercising your voting privilege. Now, usually we do this at the end of the play, but I think we're not going to have that opportunity. So I'm going to take a couple minutes while we're still waiting for the last few people to maybe come. We have this banner, and we kind of consider this our guest book. And so if anyone would like to come up and sign it like many other folks have at some point, we would love to have your participation in that way. So we'll wait until 6:30 to actually start. So give us a couple, 3 or 4 minutes, and then we'll begin our show. Thank you. Now, our narrator, Judy Oliver, will guide you through It Can't. Can somebody help me with this? Woo! Thank you. And slide it a bit this way. So well, that's, thanks. Those are seem out of time. Okay.
The time is the past or the present. It is election season, and two main political parties are vying for the presidency: the Corporatives, or the Corpos, and the People's Party. The story begins in a small Vermont town, Fort Beulah. It is on a lush hillside above a beautiful valley. The occasion is a picnic with the friends and family of Doremus Jessup. He's the editor of the Fort Beulah Daily Informer. With him is Lorinda Pike, his loyal and longtime employee who writes the society page. Lorinda is a reformer, a teller of unwelcome truths. The group discusses Buzz Windrop, the Corporative Party's nominee for the presidency. It is 4 months before the election.
Well, anyway, the Corporatives can hardly nominate Buzz Windrop before midnight tonight.
Oh, let's hope they never nominate him.
Oh, rats, I keep asking you, what's the matter with Windrop? You're always so vague. He may not be a Daniel Webster, but he's a real man of the people.
Yes, I know. I am vague. So is the whole country. Drought, unemployment, fear of getting dragged into another world war, fear everywhere. Millions tired of disciplining themselves. And along comes a medicine man with the loudest voice in the whole world. And he shouts that if we'll just put ourselves in his hands, our souls and our bodies, our little trades and the education of our children, then he'll do a miracle. No, there's only one class that will hand over responsibility, and that's slave.
Well, of course, we're going to look into it. Oh, look, here come the others.
Oh, yeah.
Enter Dr. Fowler Greenhill, a surgeon and the administrator of the only hospital in town. Mary Jessup Greenhill, Doremus's daughter, and the wife of the doctor, who has just returned from duck hunting. Also, Frankie Tasbro, a longtime acquaintance of Doremus, a textiles manufacturer, and the wealthiest business owner in the county. Clarence Little, a shopkeeper from town, and Shad Ledoux, Jessup's hired hand.
Frankie, please, sit down. Any more news on the radio about the convention?
Well, not when I left, but Senator Windrop is certain to be nominated.
Oh, I hope not.
Oh, Lorinda, you're a regular communist. If you had to run a big textile mill and try to find some mechanic that knew his business, I tell you, young folks today, the way they run around in automobiles, they've forgotten how to use their legs. And they simply won't learn. They've forgotten how to use their heads. Senator Windrop doesn't aim to be any dictator. He just wants folks to be disciplined of their own free will. And if they won't, he'll make them. Look at Julian Falk. The way he's perked up since he put on a corporal uniform. How am I going to make cotton fabrics at a decent profit with every sharecropper and railroad employee and mill hand demands hours and wages and God knows what all to suit their own selfish needs? Yes, sir. What we've got to have is coordination with one strong coordinator.
You bet your life.
Well, personally, I don't much like this idea of any bureau coordinating me. But these days you have so many deadbeats.
Now, Frankie, I hate to agree with you about anything. Always did. But for once, I guess you're right. Young folks today, they get nothing but machine-made music, and machine-made drama, and machine-made traveling. And they've gotten soft. Now, I know how Lindy feels about our independent old pioneer forebears, but they didn't believe in a machine age, and we do. So we just got to accept a little machine-made discipline, I guess. And that's why my paper's been kind of backing the corpos against Walt Trowbridge and the People's Party. Now, it's not so much that I trust Winthrop as I trust that. Look at it. God's own free, open American country. This isn't any one-horse European country that a dictator can get hold of. No, sir. It's too big. Dictatorship, it can't happen here.
No, sir.
Now, who's that coming? Well, look who it is. It's Julian in that famous Corporal brown shirt uniform.
A Boy Scout uniform.
We win! We win! Buzz Winthrop's been nominated.
It is now 2 months before the election. We are inside Clarence Little's neighborhood grocery store, where he is chatting with Mrs. Whitcomb, a Fort Beulah housewife. A parade and a political demonstration is approaching on the main street outside.
How about some laundry soap, Mrs. Whitcomb? We're having a special on gold dust this week. You take a whole case.
You know, I couldn't get it to the car. They have me blocked off on Main Street parking because of the parade.
The parade. Buzz Winthrop and his brown suit watching club. Keeping cars off Main Street. I'll go to the mayor. People won't stand for them monkeying around with their rights. My grandfather didn't fight in the Civil War for nothing.
Well, I don't know what the world's coming to. Young folks staying up until 11:30, thinking you're a tyrant if you tell them to get in at an easy hour. At least the Corporal Marching Club stand for discipline.
I believe in freedom. Better let the kids stay up than have them bossed around all the time.
Oh, look, there's the parade. You know, I sort of like the music and the uniforms.
So does Grandpa, but he don't now in the graveyard.
The music has been growing. The Corporal Guard is now marching by. Over the heads of the spectators we see American flags and banners bearing the slogan, Winthrop and Prosperity. The Corporals are coming, hurrah, hurrah. The Corporals are coming, hurrah, hurrah. The Corporals are coming, hurrah, hurrah. The Corporals are coming, hurrah, hurrah.
Boy Scouts, tin soldiers, yeah, corporals, wannabe dictators, scoundrels, Jim Nickerson, Corporal Nickerson, deadbeat. How about that $20 you owe me? Deadbeat corporals, brown shirt fascists.
Clarence is pushed back into the shop by Effingham Swan, the high-ranking officer of the Corpos.
Noisy old man, aren't you?
Who's gonna stop me?
Perhaps I should introduce myself. Commissioner Swan, Senator Winthrop's representative. Take care of him, will ya?
Unhand me! Unhand me!
May as well get used
Hand
to it.
this to me, I'm a tax-paying citizen! Ow!
And be careful with those new brown shirt uniforms.
The Corpos
Those
are
are
coming,
coming, hurrah, hurrah. The corporals are coming, hurrah, hurrah. The corporals are coming, hurrah, hurrah.
The Corpos are coming, hurrah, hurrah. The same parade is now passing in front of Doremus Jessup's house. Doremus, Hasbro, Dorinda,
invite me. Doremus, this is the best place in town to see the parade.
I'm mighty glad to have you, Frankie. I guess this window's the one thing I've got on an old plutocrat like you. Well, let's all sit down, shall we?
Well, this military drill may have its faults, but it does keep the young folks off the street corners. I tell you, a doctor sees some awful results from all this loafing and unemployment.
What I always say is, young folks with any ability can find something to do, same as I did.
Ah, well, start washing dishes and get to be a great manufacturer like you.
Well, why not? Whatever modest wealth I may have made is entirely due to my own unaided enterprise.
Young bullies, always squabbling.
Now, Lindy, maybe they scrap a little like all kids do, but you never heard of the corporals hurting anybody.
And you never will. But now you take the lazy workers. Ha! You never hear of them getting pleasure out of doing an honest day's work. No, sir. All they holler for is higher wages and shorter hours and labor unions. They're regular communists.
Well, I'm going to the movies tonight. I want to see The Son of Frankenstein.
And you're looking at Frankensteins, a whole street of them.
Now, Lindy, don't be a Joan of Arc till you've got a battle.
Well, I got one now.
Oh, the idea, just because the corporal guards won't let their members run around all night doesn't
And
mean that...
make them wash. You don't object to their being tyrannized into washing their necks, do you, Lindy?
Of course, the corpos take care of their men, baby them. And if Buzz Windrop gets elected, they'll baby the whole country into prison.
Oh, nonsense. The people of the United States will decide for themselves whether they want corporalism and efficiency or the People's Party and Senator Trowbridge's oratory.
Tin soldiers, soda counter heroes trying to grab the dictatorship.
Good afternoon.
This is Commissioner Swan from Boston, our new corporal party manager for Vermont.
And you're a cruel boss, young fellow, me lad.
That's right, sir. You were the first person in town the commissioner wanted to meet, Mr. Jessup.
Whew.
Now, please, have a seat there. Sit down, Julian. Now, I've been more or less supporting the corpos.
No one knows it better than I. It might surprise you to know we read your editorials at Boston headquarters.
Do sit down, Julian.
At rest, Falk.
Now, this is Lorinda Pike. She edits my society page. And next to her is Dr. Greenhill, my son-in-law commissioner, living with me since my wife passed away.
Certainly is a pleasure to know you, Commissioner. They offered me the medical officership of the Corpo unit here, but we're building a new wing on the hospital.
And on the end there is Frankie Tasbro, our chief manufacturer.
I suppose you've already dropped by my little textile mill, Commissioner. Too bad I was away.
No, sorry. Haven't had the chance yet.
What? It's the biggest single industry in the county. And I've been ordering, well, you might say urging, the hands to vote corporal.
Splendid!
And I understood you were coming,
Well, here I am.
and I was all ready for you. In fact, I have my party contribution all ready. Here it is. $1,000. 1,000 bright gold dollars.
Error, I'm afraid. I understood your quota was 5,000.
5,000?
So I think we'd rather not have you as a contributor at all. We thought of you as one of the inner council, but we don't care for anyone who isn't passionate about our idea.
Well, all right, Sir Judge. Just as you feel about it.
That's just the way we feel about it.
Well, I can't fool around any longer. I've got to get on the job. Be good, all of you.
Commissioner, my wife, she's the best corpo in the whole neck of the woods here. Great believer in training.
Indeed I am. Wasn't it a nice parade? So sorry, I must dash another grocery store before it closes. Our maid would have to take the afternoon off to see the parade. Honestly, I don't know what's come over servants. No gratitude. And the wages they demand?
Well, now, if you had to wash the dishes for a lot of ungrateful bosses, I mean,
Well, they deserve all the wages they
That's
get,
right.
and
All right, you Abraham Lincolns. Jessup and Pike, the friends of the forgotten men.
That's our show. Pastor Prang's League of Forgotten Men will declare for Buzz Windrip.
I'll leave you to fight it out. Bye. Goodbye, Commissioner. I'll take the car. I'm afraid to leave it for Reds like Lindy.
so the League of Forgotten Men will support Windrip, you think?
It's certain. I mean, I don't see how the League and Pastor Prang can fail to declare for Windrip. Must mean something when Windrip makes his first pilgrimage to the pastor's little brown church in the Vale, and they broadcast together. Who knows? This afternoon may be as historic as the Battle of Lexington. You must all listen, especially you, ma'am. So you'll get a better idea of Senator Windrip's real passion for justice.
I will. If he could convince me, well, all right.
Sometimes Buzz jests, but he jests so that his heart won't break. Some of his followers may be humble shopkeepers.
Hey, Shad, don't be so noisy.
Oh, I can't help it.
You, ever in the Army?
No, sir.
Military training?
Militia, sir.
What rank?
Corporal, sir.
Didn't you organize the Goose Creek Gang?
Yes, sir.
All right, all right. Capable-looking hired hand you have there, Doremus.
Yes, a little cocky, though, feels superior to domestic work. Made a god-awful failure of a turkey farm.
Yes, what Shad needs is a slight operation, an amputation. I should say a caputectomy.
Firing might be best, but I've been doing kind of a little social experiment, seeing if training can bring the manners up to Neanderthal levels.
Well, you failed. I certainly hate to miss that broadcast, but I'm due at the hospital. Delighted to meet you, Commissioner. Mighty glad the corpos sent us a gentleman.
And we must be going.
Oh, stay and listen to the broadcast.
Thanks so much, but I must listen to it with my staff. It might surprise you to see the inspiration we get from the Chief. Windrip's the born leader, and that's what we need. Oh, so desperately. People are soft and think of nothing but what they call freedom. Freedom to shoot off their mouths.
Well, freedom to shoot off your mouth is an American tradition.
It's not your ancestors' tradition. Not the tradition of your father, the old minister.
How did you know my father was a minister?
If this nation is not re-galvanized in the spirit of '76, any foreign power can walk in and subject every one of us to slavery.
Well, we did a little subjecting ourselves in Nicaragua.
Nicaragua is a case in point. The corpos intend to have scientific treaties with Central and South America.
Oh, the corpos intend everything. They tell the industrious they'll stop all the strikes. They tell the workers union will be sacred. They tell the well-to-do they'll lower taxes. They tell the poor they'll have $2,500 a year when they're 60.
Well, now, Lindy, that's very unfair. Downright unsporting in a political campaign to remember all the political speeches and see what they add up to.
It is not. Mr. Commissioner, can you reconcile all of your on the other hand business?
Yes, hitherto, the American government has been utterly wasteful. That wishy-washy monstrosity called a liberal democracy, it must stop. We don't want any more congressmen pretending to represent the people while they're only out for their own glory. We're going to make Congress responsible to one man, call him a dictator, if you insist. Afraid of a word?
I am of that word.
Lots of people being killed by it all over the world.
Death may be better than slavery in Europe.
Well, upon my word.
No, he's a nice fella. He doesn't believe all this one-man stuff.
Maybe. I must go too. Who knows where we'll be next year? Will spring ever come again?
Saunders bother you. A note. The commissioner just scribbled it in the car. No, it's not for you, Jessup. It's for Shad.
Oh, Shad's coming up in the world, getting messages by official courier. Shad? Hey, Shad!
What?
A letter for you.
Shad is just the kind that will be bossing all of us around if the Corpos win.
Yeah, well, anytime Shad can boss me around. Your cold day in Haiti.
Something horrible has happened. I went to Clarence's little grocery. He's been killed. Oh, an hour ago. The pavement was all smeary. I talked to Charlie Betts, your reporter. He said maybe the Corpos had done it.
Good Lord, I'll call the office. 421. Hello? Informer. Mr. Jessup speaking. Let me speak to Charlie. Hello, Charlie? What about this Clarence Little business? I see. No, don't wire it. Telephone it into the Associated Press and hustle! Poor Clarence got killed, all right. Charlie's not sure the Corpos did it. There was a row in the store. Anyway, it's big news. First killing anywhere in the country in this election.
That same afternoon, just a bit later, the place is the broadcast studio of the local radio station. Present are the celebrated radio pulpiteer and clerical politician, Pastor Frank. With him is Senator Berzelius Buzz Winthrop, the Corporate Party candidate for the presidency. And also, Buzz is already in the midst of his national radio book-up.
And the kid glove element in the People's Party continually return to their favorite charge against him. That I'm a redneck, a mucker, just a common man. Since they know I've won every important law case I've ever fought, including some before those high and mighty billy goats, the justices of the Supreme Court, they claim that when and replace all these denatured cookie pushers with a bunch of real he-Americans with hair on their chests.
Hair on their brains.
But all my policies, domestic and foreign, are based on just one principle: to scientifically help the downtrodden become the equals of any Shakespeare or any money-wallowing Jewish banker that ever lived. And I end here with, farewell, my neighbors.
Neighbor to a rattlesnake.
Except for a memorandum that has just been handed to me, which I've had to ponder even while I've been talking to you. To my tragic horror, I find that not 1 hour ago, you will read it in your papers tomorrow, but I'm going to tell the myriad millions of you before then. A most unfortunate occurrence occurred in the beautiful little city of Fort Beulah, Vermont. A very fine substantive merchant of that city was fatally injured in a scuffle. And my enemies are trying to place the blame upon the Corpos. I have secret information of what did happen, and it entirely exonerates the Corpos. But if I did not know the truth, if any corporal were in any way to blame, I would cast him forth, if it cost me my last follower. For if any harm be done unto the least of these, verily it was done unto.
Back again? Got another love letter for Shad?
No, sir, it's for you this time, the commissioner. Swan sent it.
Dear Mr. Jessup, we shall be honored if you will accept the enclosed appointment as Honorary Corporative Subcommissioner for Beulah County. There are no duties involved except your expression of approval for what we are endeavoring to do. I beg to remain, sir, your humble servant, E. Swan. A little too fancy for me.
Fancy. It looks like the sons and daughters of I Will Arise. But it's nothing so funny. It's meant as a future bribe, in case there should be any more trouble, like the murder of Clarence Little.
Now, we don't know it was murder.
It was an accident. The commissioner was all broken up about it. He investigated right away. You know, Mr. Little did drink too much. What happened was he got into a scuffle with some fellows, and one of them pushed him. He fell down, hit his head against the counter, and that's it.
You know, probably did happen that way, Lindy. You know something? I ought to accept this appointment. If some of the younger element and the corporals tend to be rowdy, all the more reason why I should take part. I can be a good influence.
You could only manage a machine gun from one end of it.
Quit making the corporals out to be a bunch of Frankensteins. Isn't Julian here one of them? We've known him since he was little.
Well, that's what worries me. I'm astonished. A nice boy like you, running around playing soldier, and after getting such a nice Dartmouth College education, why don't you get yourself a nice, sweet, wholesome girl?
As though I wouldn't give anything for one. As though any young man without a rich father can afford to even blow a girl to a Coca-Cola these days. They told me if I did well in college, I'd get a job. Well, I did well in college. I got honors, and that was the last thing that I got. I begged for a job, any job.
You did work, Julie.
We're realists. We're tired of being party pinks, parlor pinks. We're working together. We're behind Buzz.
Well, I don't entirely dislike the notion, but it's a little inconvenient. You said you wanted to stay with us all winter.
Well, hell with that. I want my time. You're not trying to hold out on my dough now, are you?
Certainly not. Matter of fact, it's a pleasure.
Well, hey, Julian, go to my room and take my bags out to the bus stop, will you now?
Of all the gall, do I have to?
Do my eyes deceiveth me? Or artest thou not a corporal private? You remember that little Billy Ducks you brought me from Swan? He made me a sergeant of corpos on full time. Now you get those bags.
Well, say it.
It is now just 1 month before the election, and the presidential campaign is in full swing. Buzz is about to give a speech from the second-story balcony of the Fort Beulah Hotel. It is hung with posters such as, "Welcome to Winthrop," and "We play no favorites, but glad to see you, sir." The street in front is close packed with people come to see Buzz. And they are shouting, "We want Winthrop! We 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 want Winthrop!"
Well, this is one hell of a way to earn a living. 2 hours sleep. Say, I wish the guys that say I want to be some kind of phony dictator could travel on this big trip with us. Why, I say these dictators live in a big castle and sleep till 10 a.m., have flocks of cuties bringing them breakfast on gold plates, French omelets with fancy sauce. But on this trip, well, we got time for about one meal a day, and it's always old Mrs. Pullman's Southern-styled hash. But not seriously. Folks like Lee Saracen back in Washington, they were wrong when they thought this trip was to educate people about Buzz. No, it's me that got educated. What grand people I've been meeting in my trip across this great nation of ours. But, and there is one great big but, my friends, everywhere I have found the true American people divided, kept apart by the politicians who in their insensate selfishness befool the very constituents who have placed them on their tinsel thrones. You honor me with your votes. I shall not be president. No, I mean that. Not be president at all, but the telephone central through whom every man in this great land, be he Vermont farmer or Seattle ship captain, can get in touch with every other man so that, for the first time since 1861, we can be joined in one nation that will sweep the world.
Dad, you've got to get out of this. I just talked to Clarence Little's widow. She's dying. The corpos murdered Clarence, and now they made her shut her trap.
Dictator! Foully do they misuse of bandy words who assert that plain Buzz Winthrop would ever desire to dictate anything to anybody. If one among you believes this, let him here and now strike me down.
Her head was beaten in with blackjacks.
See, I bare my breast to the bullets of the assassin.
They stuck a knife in her back.
But no, that shall never be. For I long only to love and serve every American citizen.
Buzz Winthrop is now President of the United States. Time is 3 months after the election. President Winthrop has already executed several far-reaching and shocking actions. Doremus, Lorinda, and Tazger are discussing the situation in Doremus' office.
Well, now, what I'd like you to say in your editorial is, the government may have to monkey with agriculture, but it should keep its hands off business. Here, Winthrop's been in office a month, and have the big industrialists seen any gratitude? That was a fine move the government made when it solved the unemployment problem and by chasing all the idle bums into work camps and then renting them out to private industry at 75 cents a day.
Just peonage.
Well, but the point is, even with wages way down, I'm not making any profits. Taxes are terrible. A new tax on industry every 5 minutes. Interference from inspectors. The worst bunch of racketeers I ever saw.
They're making you hire a lot of corpos?
And none of them know anything.
You know, didn't the corporals hound me to fire Charlie Betts and give his job to that kid Julian Fall? Doggone embarrassing. Charlie been with me for years, and Julian was a neighbor. Worked out all right. Charlie had a little money. I sure wish Julian knew how to spell, though.
Hey, no, cut it out. Don't do that.
Hey there, I'll knock your heads together.
That was Dan Wilgus, my foreman. Dan grew up in the mean streets of Marseille before he immigrated to Vermont via Montreal. Even 20 years ago, it was getting more uncomfortable for Jews in Europe. He knows how to handle a bunch of those out-of-control Goose Creek kids. A whole slew of them are in town now since Shad enlisted their dads in the corpos.
Ugh, a lot of riffraff. No respect for their elders like you and I were brought up to have. Well, I hope you have the courage to use the facts I've given you. Don't pussyfoot. Business is being strangled.
We'll see. I made some notes.
That cloth head telling you to have courage after the way you criticized the corpo. I know about the anonymous notes, the lynching.
Oh, those notes are probably just a joke. Some clown like Shad. Maybe those kids out in the alley.
The men in mass that tortured the Massachusetts editor weren't kids.
Oh, well, what the dickens. Now, Lindy, you know how serious I am to have you here, but just the same, I've been thinking it over, and I want you to resign.
Then there is danger.
Hell no, but you're getting jumpy, and you'll be telling the truth one of these days.
You want me to quit now?
Well, yes, I do. I got an AP flash from Washington. I'm waiting for the follow-up. 100 members of Congress and 6 members of the Supreme Court have been put under protective arrest.
Oh, I can't believe it. Things like this can't happen in America.
It all did happen the day Buzz Windrop was inaugurated, when he armed the corpos. Darn it, I wish I could get the rest of this story from Washington. Something's holding it up.
That means national censorship?
Protective censorship. That's why you've got to get out of this. I don't want you here.
Doremus Daniel Jessup, I have never in my life heard such a wicked lie. Never. You can fire me and fire me and fire me and fire me. And I will always be right here at my desk at 11 o'clock every single morning.
You will not. You've never been less than 15 minutes late, and you never will be. Dan? Say, Dan.
Oh, hold your horses, I'm coming.
We're going to run this editorial after all.
Oh, we'll do no such damn thing.
You make up that page right now and make this the lead editorial.
Yeah, I've been reading through it again. And we're not going to have no such a piece in any paper I put together. Talk about corporal machine guns. You want them turned on us?
What, are you scared?
Scared? Me? I'm so scared I almost ruined myself. Believe me, I know what it's like to be from someplace else, someplace different. Remember that editor out in Kansas City 2 days ago? They tied him to a press and set it on fire. That's a nice press we have downstairs there.
Yeah, well, they didn't burn up the printers, did they? Only the editor.
Hell, I wasn't thinking of the editor. I was thinking of the press. I'll bet they took the paint off that press, and that's a nice press we have downstairs.
Okay, then, I'm going to try and reset this editorial myself.
All right, all right. If you're bound to turn to be a hero, I guess I could be one too. 19 years now you've been getting your way.
18.
Seems like 80. Besides, I can repair a line type after it's been massaged with crowbars, but not after a liberal intellectual has been fooling with it.
I didn't want to tell you, but of course the paper will get it anyway. Dad, the most dreadful thing the corporals have done. I thought it was pretty bad when they started interfering with you. Of course the press should have freedom. But now they've laid hands on our medicine. Fowler is at work terribly worried because Swan has installed as a new hospital head a horrible gland treatment quack. And Fowler got run out of the county medical association. Will you protest it in the paper?
Yes, I'll try to, if there's any paper left to protest in.
Thank you.
I got your blamed editorial reset. What's that? The presses have stopped.
What? You, outside.
Okay.
Swan, you have anything to do with that machinery stopping?
Almost everything, I should think. Do be calm, my dear fellow. We're both civilized human beings, and surely we should be able to discuss any differences we might have. Murder by machine gun. That's a very pretty alliteration. I congratulate you, Doremus.
Well, my name is Jessup.
Oh, no, it wouldn't be. Not between friends, would it, Doremus? I'll call you Doremus, and you call me Commissioner. Jessup, I came here to raise hell with you about the seditious criticisms of the corporative government. I hadn't expected anything so beastly as this new affront. Instead of just giving you counsel, I'm going to give you a trial. Sergeant Ledoux.
Yes, sir.
Take notes. According to a new decree, my dear Doremus, I'm now not only in political and military control of this district, I have the power to hold court-martial with myself as judge, prosecutor, and defense. And you'd be simply thrilled to see how the three of me can agree on major issues.
I don't care much for this cat and mouse game. If this is a trial, what are the charges?
Charges? Oh, high treason, incitement to murder, airy legal jury tidbits like that. All so easily gotten rid of if you would just remember your venerable years and your responsibilities to your family. Oh, and of course, Doremus, I do want so delicately urge you to give me a list of all the people who you know to be opposed to the corporative administration.
Spying.
Oh, yeah, just so. Could be. But do, I pray you, try to show a little more formality at your trial for treason. One really ought to take you out and shoot you. Oh, yes, I have the power to. But it might be more amusing to keep you here. So I announce as my official decision that from now on, the editor of this newspaper is to be Sergeant Ledoux. And I'm picking Sergeant Ledoux because you're old and loving co-workers. We do hope you'll go on writing, playing with that many-colored word. But Sergeant Ledoux will tell you precisely what you are to write and how to change it afterward. And if there are complaints, then a little instruction with...
Swan, I've had enough. One man is going to protest against your corpo swinishness. I shut up. I wanted to keep myself clear from my medical work. You've taken that from me, but now you've started on Jessup.
You're entirely mistaken, my dear Dr. Greenhill. I've been misrepresented. Who phoned you?
None of your business.
Fall back there, William. I came here to offer Mr. Jessup... Grab it, William. This comrade bores me. Take him out in the alley and shoot him, will you? Hello? No, Mr. Jessup can't come to the telephone at the moment. This is just a friend of his. It's your daughter. She wants to know something about the man the corporals have placed as superior over her good husband, Dr. Fowler Greenhill. Oh yes, Mr. Jessup is here, but he doesn't seem to be feeling very well.
of several rifles firing together is heard from the alley.
No, Mrs. Greenhill, I'm afraid your father wasn't able to do anything for him.
It is now 4 months after the election. President Buzz Winthrop is settled into his private White House, and we see a new side of him. His trusted confidant and chief dirty trickster, Lee Sarrazin, is now the Secretary of State. The two discuss current issues.
God almighty! The Caps had a Made in America label, but they also have a labor union bug. Can I depend on anybody? No cooperation, no loyalty. You think you're Secretary of State? I made you and I'm going to make you right now this minute. You think you're necessary to me. Nobody's necessary to me. I'm President of the United States. By God, I am the United States.
Sorry, Buzz. I know what burdens you're carrying.
No, I know. I've been talking like a crazy man. Forget it. Everything's gotten on my nerve since that maniac tried to shoot me.
Sure, and careful of too much vengefulness. You have everybody shot the minute you're suspicious. Yet less than 4 months ago, you were worried stiff when the corporals killed their first man. Remember?
Yeah. Fort Beulah, Vermont. You know, I used to think about that place and wonder what kind of fool it was got done in, you know, and whether he's gotten in neighbors that have the guts to kick about it.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, thanks.
Could such people possibly matter? An anthill. But even so, they might start swarming. Sometimes I think you're beginning to wish the American people had only one throat to cut. Be careful.
You know, I thought it would be more fun to be president. First American dictator in history. You know, I used to imagine myself coming right in here, slapping Abe Lincoln's feet off the desk and putting mine right up on it. But nobody seems to like me anymore. Not even you.
There's a press conference in a few minutes.
Let them wait, the dirty spies. You know, I don't need the newspapers any longer. They need me. Who else is waiting?
Oh, Senator Luthern of California, about the fruit pickers strike.
Do I have to see him?
Well, I shouldn't think so. We had all the strike leaders shot yesterday.
Well, what do you think we better do about it?
Oh, send them flowers. Flowers are cheap in California. Also waiting is Frankie Tasboro, representing the Northern New England textile manufacturers, I believe. Don't suppose you want...
Oh, on hell yes, of course. Always glad to see the industrialists. Come in, Tasboro.
Oh, awfully kind of you to see me, Mr. President. I just brought a few practical suggestions from some manufacturers. I know you're busy here in the White House.
Well, no. This isn't the White House. This is the people's home. Sit. I'm particularly gratified to have the cooperation of the really big, responsible folks in the country like yourself. I hope everything's going well with you up in New England. Labor troubles all cleared up?
Oh, absolutely, Mr. President. Thanks to you.
Well, not to me, but to my Secretary of State, Saracen here. This is Lee Saracen, the greatest secretary since Alexander Hamilton. And what can I do for you?
Well, I was delegated to come here by a group of high-class citizens, several of them millionaires, to put before you our feelings that we simply must have relief from so much taxation. And all these inspectors. I myself, why, I voluntarily contributed $10,000 to the corporal campaign, though I was only asked for 1,000.
That's the spirit.
So, we feel, after all, I represent what you might call the solid moneyed interest. And money still holds the whip hand, even in politics.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir, but there's an important visitor. Pastor Prang of Zenith needs to see you immediately.
Oh, yes. I'm expecting the old dear. You won't mind if I let the pastor come in for a minute, would you? You probably remember the radio giant?
Oh, I should say, but you'd probably like me to step out.
I want you to stay. No, I want you to stay. I want you to see how zealously we listen to criticism, so you can take word of it back to the big industrialists. Well, well, Pastor Prang, how's the humble brown church in the humble brown old Vale?
I have not come here for any small talk. I have come here to denounce the wolf in sheep's clothing, whom, to my eternal shame, I helped lead to the helpless flock. I criticize the wicked and adulterous administration on the radio, and now I find that your Federal Radio Commission has actually barred me off the air, and members of my league are being handed into labor camps like ordinary tramps. Your corporals are striving to kill the America that once marched on to freedom under the leadership of old John Brown. They command our ministers of the gospel to preach the glories of an administration supported by scoundrels, cloaked in the sanctity of the American flag. They dominate the motion
You're
picture.
just about 4.5 months too late, my clerical friend. I can't use you anymore. I'm only going to use 4-minute speakers in the war with Mexico about 18 months from now in the lovely autumn weather.
We're at peace with Mexico, not even a border incident.
Border incidents can be plentifully provided.
You shall not plunge America into war to increase your unholy power.
I was glad to have your skilled advice, Parson, but I'd be careful how I talked treason. That's what the drumhead court-martials would call it, preferring a lot of greasers and Jews and God knows what to 100% Protestant Americans. But I'm not going to have you shot or not even tortured. I'll always love you for the best laugh I ever had in my life when you worked so hard to get me elected with that phony broadcast. Lee, this pastor has been bleating too loud. Off to jail where none of the good Americans offended by those subversive doctrines will have to hear them. We've got to protect free speech. Move out, move out.
Yes, sir. And if there are inquiries, sir?
Pranks had a nervous breakdown to the insane asylum, kept incommunicado.
You can't do that. Somewhere in you, there must be some grains of mercy.
Why, Parson, you'll have a nice little room, and you can preach.
Lord our God, shield of the innocent.
Already raving.
If it be thy will that thy ministers shall suffer for their own most grievous blindness, yet in our far absence guide our flocks in thy name.
Go out, be gone. And now you stinking stooge, you see how scared I am of the Manufacturers Association and anybody else? You go back home to your association, and next Tuesday, I want you back here with bearer bonds for $15 million.
20.
That's right. bonds for $20 million next Tuesday.
We'll be paupers.
Yeah, you should have thought of that before the election. You gave $10,000 to the campaign fund for discipline. Now you're getting it.
Tasbro, didn't you ever hear the definition of dictatorship? Up to a certain point, it's government by capitalists like you, through hired bullies. After that, it's government by the bullies, like me, through the capitalists.
Now get! Say, we ought to make twice the money we do. You meet such crumbs when you're a dictator.
It is now 5 months after the election, and things have changed in Fort Beulah. Doremus Jessup is no longer the editor of the paper, but is now working for his hired hand, Shad Ledoux. Shad, the new editor, has been promoted to Corpo Lieutenant.
Shad, I've got a question.
Well, that's lieutenant. And I need a salute.
How about Dan Wilkes, Lieutenant? He tells me you fired him.
Well, we don't need him. I mean, he's a Jewish immigrant. He ain't no good. He ain't even an American.
I'm afraid we do need him, Shad. Dan's lived here for over 20 years, and he's the only experienced printer you've left me.
Oh, so you don't like the way I run things, huh?
I'm just trying to say that we gotta have someone here who understands printing.
Well, if you're so in love with that ink slinger, you'll get him back. You know, the guy's got 3 kids. He ain't saved any money. Pretty soon he'll be in one of those labor camps, and we can hire him back for 75 cents a day. You know, you ain't a very good businessman, Jessup.
Meanwhile, if we fall down on the posters, Swan will blame
That's
me.
Commissioner Swan.
Yes, Commissioner Swan, I mean. He might even blame you, Shad.
Oh, well, all right, then I'll show you I'm good people. You can keep Wilgus, but I don't want you pestering me about this anymore. And say, me and Swan have decided to print nothing about that Frankie Tasbro committing suicide in that New York hotel room.
All right. But Frankie was a good friend. It's nice of you to feel.
Well, and say, since I've been so nice to you, there's an insurance agent just blew into town peddling insurance policies. He fixed me up on insurance for my new Cooper, real reasonable. His name's Dimmick. He's from Albany. And I made you an appointment.
Splitting commissions with you, huh?
Well, then he's get off your back. Hey, Dimmick. Dimmick. Hey, Dimmick, you come on in. Come on in, you make yourself to home. Hey, Jessup, this is Dimmick from Albany.
How'd you do, Mr. Jessup? I'd like to analyze your insurance policies for you. No charge, no obligation.
Please, have a seat. Now listen, I have plenty of insurance.
I represent an old line insurance company founded by George Washington. I'm selling Liberty Insurance.
Well, I don't know what kind of scheme you and Shad Ledoux are cooking up, but I'm not interested.
Ledoux is a fool. Good thing for me that most of the corpos are. I'm a secret agent of the People's Party. We're going to overthrow...
Look, I don't want to know anything to do with this. There isn't any People's Party anymore. There isn't any people.
Hush, hush. Don't argue. Listen carefully. Senator Trowbridge is in Canada. He's going to rally America against the corpos. We're organizing an underground spy system. We want you to take charge in Fort Beulah.
All right, get out of here. I've got enough troubles on my hands.
You can check up on me through your friend Ed Sampson of Burlington. He knows all about.
I don't want to know anything about you.
Last week, 3 leaders were burned to death in Pittsburgh.
Well, I can't help that. We're all helpless.
The daughter of a liberal professor was raped in Berkeley. Quiet.
Good day, Dimmick. I don't see much use of your staying around any longer.
Well, I certainly hope you'll think about taking out some insurance. Remember, our company was founded by George Washington. If you change your mind, you can reach me through Ed Sampson of the Burlington Paper Company. Remember, Ed Sampson.
Well, I must say, you weren't very cordial.
Well, look, I don't need any insurance, and it doesn't pay to get too chummy with strangers.
Oh, look, here are some forgotten words. Oh, George Washington Insurance Company? Americans, are you cowards? 96 sharecroppers killed by corpos in Arkansas. Rabbi Vincent de Varese murdered.
Give me that. I was a secret agent of the People's Party from Senator Trowbridge, trying to get me to join them. Now look, I'm too old to be a hero. What could I do anyway? If Fowler with his nerve and huskiness couldn't do anything, what use could the people make of an old dodo like me? Besides, if anything happened to me, what would become of Mary? She's half crazy now over Fowler's murder.
Listen, Doremus, things are only getting worse. If we refuse to look beyond ourselves and our close friends and family, we're just waiting for the inevitable instead of working to prevent it. It's impossible to hide. We have to do something while we still can.
Hey, listen here. Let's see some working going on here. One of these days I'm gonna have to slap you both down. Listen, there's a cutie slinging hash down at Buzz Windrup Bean Pot that would love to be a feature editor. You got any kick?
On the contrary. You know, you finally persuaded me to do something that will delight you. Hello, this is the Informer. I want to speak to Edward Sampson, President, Burlington Paper Company, Burlington.
What's this about?
I want to get in touch with Dimmick. I've decided to take out some insurance. Lots of it.
Well, good for you. Now we're getting somewhere.
It is now 6 months after the election. It is April. Doremus, Lorinda, and Dan are now actively working in the rebel underground. They are in the Jessup living room, engaged in a surreptitious anti-corpo pamphlet campaign. Julian.
And in Lincoln, Nebraska, Mrs. Leonard Minute, wife of a congregational minister, was killed when drunken corpos fired through the doors of a number of houses. This is Walt Trowbridge of the People's Party, broadcasting from Montreal on the true state of affairs in the United States. In Pittsburgh, the Steel Cartel gave a lavish entertainment to President Windrup for his...
Heavens, you're up early. What's the trouble?
Well, we've come to confiscate all the radios on this block. You know, Walt Trowbridge has broadcasted a lot of seditious junk from Canada. Hey, I'll take that. Take care of that for me, will you?
Now, how are we going to hear the chief straight from the shoulder talks from Washington?
Well, that's just it. Just because a traitor like Trowbridge is broadcasting a lot of lies, then decent folks like you and I have to suffer for it. I mean, it's the fault of these seditious Canadians. But, of course, we'll take care of that after we lick the Liveys and the Canucks.
I thought we were going to lick the Mexicans.
Well, the Mexicans first, yeah, then the Canadians. Then I guess South America. It's our manifest destiny, and we need colonies.
All right, then, mission accomplished. Happy hunting.
Not so fast there. Hey, you two, start searching. We are also having a book burning on the green tonight. Gonna burn all this subversive literature, a lot of smutty stuff, corrupting public morals. You got any objections?
Well, you won't find any subversive books here.
Oh, the hell we won't. I used to work here, remember? Now, let's see, how about this book up here now?
It's a detective story.
The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. What do you mean that ain't subversive? I mean, I was reading where there's a commissioner named Ackroyd, or maybe it was Croydon. Anyway, murder ain't no business for civilians to monkey with. Now, how about this fella, Charles Dickens? Wasn't he a communist?
Certainly not.
Well, I heard about it. Seemed to me he'd done a lot of complaining about conditions. Guys ought to let conditions alone.
But Shad, Lieutenant, that was almost 100 years ago.
Yeah, well, makes no difference. Dead skunk stings as bad as a live one. All right, now, Alice in Wonderland. And this Omar, better burn him, probably seditious.
Lieutenant, really? Alice in Wonderland? They'll laugh at you.
Well, I am going to have a bigger blaze than they did at Montpelier. Prove that this town is twice as literary.
Is Mary up? Why? What's happening?
Shad's having a book burning.
Hey, you seen any bad books around here, old lady?
Well, yes, I most certainly do. It's that red book right there. And don't let him tell you it isn't dirty.
Lindy.
Hey, shut up, you. Pretty right, yeah? Well, maybe we won't burn that one. Oh, now.
Oh,
Hey.
Don't bother, it's just some notes for an essay.
Hey, hey there. You damned old traitor. Don't lie to me now. Who is in this with you?
Nobody.
Oh, no. Hey, you guys, keep searching the joint. We're talking treason here. Now, where do you keep the castor oil? You know that's a corpo joke. You don't give castor oil to a grown-up. Hey, check the bathroom.
He's guilty as hell. I found a whole mimeograph outfit hidden in the basement with a lot of seditious printing and a fancy steel fish rod. Always wanted one, and I don't guess Comrade Jessup will be needing that one.
Here you are, folks.
Excellent. Of course, you hold on to that now. Of course, you know you're going to a concentration camp, but if you want to get there in one piece, you'll start telling me right now who these notes are for. Now, hey, old lady, you tipped me off to this situation, so I'm going to do you a favor. Box seat at a corpo treason investigation. Hey, you know, I don't really know how to make you out. I always thought you was sweet on the old duffer. Hey, if you are, and you know who's in this with him, you better start talking right now. You'll save him a lot of grief.
I don't know anything. He was a friend of mine, but if he's guilty, he'll have to suffer.
Well, okay then. You give him the oil now, the whole bottle. And you go get that fishing rod. I'm going to give that to him as well. We're going to have some fun.
Come on, fuck girl.
It is now 18 months since the election. The Jessup household is in much reduced circumstances since Doremus has been gone. Lorinda, Mary have been planning to leave for Canada. Lorinda is standing in the open doorway while Mary sits hunched as she sews on a button. The most startling change is the presence of Captain Shad Ledoux taking prideful ease in a chair.
Well, you know, Julian might just grow up to be a captain. It's wonderful the opportunities the corpos have brought young people here in the country.
Don't you talk about the kids.
Well, what's the matter now? Oh, you still standoffish to the corpos? You know, I'm running things here now. Swan ain't been here more than once or twice this year. I may be no rosebud, but I did all right for myself. I got Frankie Casbro's dumb son running that factory as my errand boy, and I got Editor Jessup sent up to a concentration camp for treason, him and his foreign friend Dan Wilgus, and I got this stuck-up Mary washing my clothes and darning my socks, and oh, I do love it.
You might have some sympathy for working people. You were once a hired hand.
Oh yeah, you just had to get that in there, didn't you? Once a hired hand, always a hired hand. That's your motto. Hey, let's see how good you are as a washerwoman.
Lay it over there.
Mary grips the long, slender scissors in her sewing basket.
Hey, look at here. Look at here. I hear something coming. I hear something coming. Put out the lights now. I tell you, put out the lights. Oh, God, it's an airplane. I hope it's one of ours.
What is it?
Well, it's the Air Corps. More than half the regular army's disloyal. They joined the rebels.
The rebels!
Oh, well, Walt Trowbridge's rebels in the Middle West. Oh, they bombed us yesterday.
They've kept us from knowing.
Oh, they're gonna start dropping bombs. They're gonna start dropping bombs. Don't you show a light. Don't open that door.
Mary raises her arm. The long bladed scissors in her hand gleam in the moonlight.
I'd forgotten that you could be scared.
I'm not scared. I'm not scared. I'll fight anybody that'll fight fair. But these cowards, you come down and fight me. I tell you, come down.
Here, be still, Shad. Be still. They're gone now.
Well, they killed General Dewey Hake in Chicago yesterday. They put a bomb right through his office, the dirty house.
Get out of my father's house, you filthy coward, and don't come back here.
Mary turns her back on Shad and goes upstairs.
Now, why does she treat me like that? Why does she always look down on me? I'll show her.
Shad, you've got to leave here. Shad!
Shad stumbles up the stairs, following Mary. That same evening, we find Doremus sitting in his cell at the Corpo concentration camp, talking with his dying cellmate, Mike. Both are very much the worse for wear, thanks to Corpo hospitality.
Oh, Mike, I don't know how I can take my chance and escape and leave you to these fellas. Why, in this year you've become the closest friend I've ever had.
Check. Same here. I wish you could take you into Gus's bar in Waterbury. Best damn mechanics in town hang out there. Those fellows would really love you. Dreamus, you sure you got your overcoat?
Yeah. Now just think of being in a place where you can speak right out without looking back over your shoulder. Think of having a real job waiting, thanks to my old friend Dan's family, if I do make it across the border to Montreal.
Dreamus, you ain't practical. That's no job for you, washing dishes in a hash house.
Am I or am I not the best cleaner of toilets in this whole camp?
Yeah, I guess he's right.
There's nobody as inconspicuous as a dishwasher. Now, if I can just sneak back into the States,
God's sakes, don't let them catch you again.
they won't catch me. Not alive. What's that?
Hey, get out of the way, you bastard. I don't think your buddy is walking out of here, so I brought you somebody to minister to his spiritual needs. None of one of you intellectuals, none of you highbrows can take it.
It's a damn lie. I did take it. They beat me for hours, but I didn't tell. I did take it.
Here, let me help you.
Oh, bless you. But brother, this is your bunk.
Oh, it's all right. I know how you feel when they've beaten you.
Oh, I denounce the sin of fornication, the sin of drunkenness, and the sin of greed, and all the while I sin the sin against the Holy Ghost, the sin of lust for power.
Say you sound like a preacher.
Oh, I was a preacher once. My name was Prang, Pastor Prang.
Good Lord, of course. Why, I remember hearing you on the radio when you declared for Winthrop.
Oh, I have made atonement. I have been in 7 prisons. I spent 5 months in a cell with a maniac who tried to kill me in my sleep. But I cannot pray.
I know.
Lord, Remus, get a doc.
Guard! It's Mike! Quick, get the doctor!
Dr. Hell. He's up in the commandment's quarters playing bridge with somebody.
But Mike's dying, Mike!
And he don't need no doctor.
For the love of God, please show some mercy.
All right.
It'll be all right, Mike. You just hold on now.
Remus, at least the guard just left.
Oh,
I'm passing.
oh no! No! Oh, jeez. Now's your time to pray, Pastor.
Yes, now I can pray. Oh, Lord our God, receive this our brother and our intercessor.
Here's something.
Jessup, I'm Dimmick. Put this coat on and hustle. Pete? Pete?
What do you want?
Pete?
What do you want?
Letting that visiting doctor out.
Okay.
The Lord keep you.
Yes, yes, the Lord, bless and keep thee, the Lord of freedom, guide thy feet in all their perilous ways, until we both shall come at last unto his kingdom. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Later that same night, this is 18 months after the election, in a dingy little room of a corpo immigration post on the Canadian border, behind the desk is a rather worried-looking immigration officer. We know that the time and the war have taken much of the snap out of the corporal uniforms. A radio on the officer's desk is blaring a news story.
We bring you another news report of a death from just south of here. In the small town of Beulah, Vermont, a body has been discovered in the abandoned former home of the editor of the local Informer newspaper. Foul play is suspected as the victim was found with his throat cut. Based on corporal documents found with the body, the person is believed to be Captain Shad Ledoux. Now we return you to our regular programming of military march bands celebrating the era of John Philip Sousa.
Oh, all right, I'll see her. I don't know why they don't close this damn border crossing. Sit down. What's your name? What's your hometown?
Marie Jackson, New York City.
Let me have your passport. We've been getting a lot of phonies lately. I don't know whether it's a phony or not. Well, Trowbridge spies have been getting real good at making these better than we do.
I assure you, it's genuine.
Why do you want to go to Canada?
To make a living. I have relatives in Montreal. They promised to find me a job.
Isn't there any work here for you in this country?
Who's in command here?
I am, sir.
I'm District Commissioner Swan. I have a convoy outside. Seen anything of that gasoline?
Haven't seen anything about any gasoline, sir.
Oh my God. Why haven't you? Our beautiful military system, we're cut off. The rebel air raids have wrecked the railroads. If I don't get 40 trucks across the border, there won't be a corporal plane in all of New England. Who is this woman?
Nobody, sir. Get out of here, you. Here's your passport. I haven't got time for it.
Wait a minute. I've seen you somewhere.
I don't think so.
Where are you from?
New York.
Officer, go out and find me those trucks!
Yes, sir.
And you. Maybe you don't remember the name of Captain Ledoux?
I never heard of Captain Ledoux.
I've seen you somewhere. You ever been to Boston?
I was there once for a few days, only.
Ever hear of a place called Fort Beulah? Never heard? And you never heard of Captain Shad Ledoux of Fort Beulah?
No, sir.
You don't remember how the captain looked? Lying on the floor, throat torn open by a pair of scissors?
No, sir.
Let me see your hands. Yeah, you might have done hard work, I guess. You might have been a laundress or a seamstress.
Gasoline transport is here, sir.
Oh, very good. Tell him to keep it quiet. It's a secret movement.
Very well, sir.
Hold! You come from Fort Beulah. Ever see this woman before?
No, sir.
You sure? God help you if you make any mistake.
Never saw this woman, sir, as far as I'm concerned.
All right. This isn't the woman. I saw her once. She was smarter. Her voice was different.
Hold it right there. Now walk away from the desk, Commissioner Swan.
Put down that gun, and I'll let you go. I okayed your passport, Mrs. Greenhill.
I won't need it now. Oh yes, Commissioner Swan, my father has escaped. He and Lorinda are in Montreal. Don't start toward that door, Commissioner. I'm a good duck shot. Now, Commissioner Swan, I'm thinking of my husband.
Then get it over with. Hurry up.
I'm not going to hurry. I'm going to give you the chance to remember. When that door opens, I will kill you. Look at me, Commissioner Swan.
I knew I should have killed Jessup.
You couldn't. Dormius Jessups never die.
The door slowly begins to open.
We need to put the chairs back, but while you're doing that, I'll put down how Annette and Judy may say a few words while we're working.
It could be that we may say a few words. How about that Shad Ledoux, huh? Some kind of character. This individual felt like she had achieved the American dream, but had she had not. Because she got her position by allying herself with a pack of bulls. So what I want to encourage you to do today is to take Pike somebody else's mind in the store. And let me tell you one last thing. One last thing. We hope that our theatrical efforts here this evening will help you think about keeping alive the free, independent, and critical spirit and the preservation of that spirit. Thank you all so much.
And if you want to see more plays from the Reader's Theater format, the Reader's Theater Unlimited has a group of plays that they will be doing in December. And we are just finishing up the stuff that we have done in the month of September. Watch the senior news, look at the website for the senior services, and that will tell you when our plays are. The first Tuesday and the second Tuesday of December, we will be doing plays right here. Yeah.
Right at the beginning. And that's going to be difficult. So we're going to have to speed some things up. So I'm going to have a few remarks now, and then we'll get started in a little bit. First, I want to thank everyone for coming. I know that in this weather, it was a big sacrifice for you, and we all really appreciate your coming. Thank you very much. We also have a couple of quick little notes. First, we want to thank Kendra Phillips has driven down from Seattle in this weather on Friday night to join us because our usual cast member who plays Mary, Sarah Thiessen, who's from here at the Senior Center, she's having her opening night with the Heart Sparkle Players across the street. So we really thank Kendra for coming down. I also want to make sure that you realize that our narrator, Judy Oliver, through some oversight by someone who I don't know who, I left her out of the program. You might think that's Freudian. I'm not even going to touch that. Judy's the heart and soul of our effort. She's going to be our narrator tonight, as she is every night. We want you to think about democracy. Consider that it could be threatened. Our title alone, it can't happen here, hopefully causes people to ponder the possibilities that America's most precious product, democracy, can be put at risk due to a presidential election.
No.
This is not about Democrats or Republicans. It's about preserving the systems and institutions that govern our country. The more people hear, talk, and message about the show, the more people see the show, the more people will be attuned to acts and deeds that threaten our life. It Can't Happen Here was an important American play 80 years ago, and it is still relevant today. The show tells the story of Americans who believed in a presidential candidate who claimed he could defend and protect them, but only if the people trusted him and gave him unfettered power. The voters gave him that power. They believed dictatorship can't happen here. They were wrong. Please listen to these words from 80 years ago and think about how they resonate today. Consider the issues raised by the play, discuss them, and remember the phrase, "It can't happen here," when you consider exercising your voting privilege. Now, usually we do this at the end of the play, but I think we're not going to have that opportunity. So I'm going to take a couple minutes while we're still waiting for the last few people to maybe come. We have this banner, and we kind of consider this our guest book. And so if anyone would like to come up and sign it like many other folks have at some point, we would love to have your participation in that way. So we'll wait until 6:30 to actually start. So give us a couple, 3 or 4 minutes, and then we'll begin our show. Thank you. Right at the beginning. And that's going to be difficult. so we're gonna have to speed some things up. So I'm gonna have a few remarks now, and then we'll get started in a little bit. First, I want to thank everyone for coming. I know that in this weather, it was a big sacrifice for you, and we all really appreciate your coming. Thank you very much. We also have a couple of quick little notes. First, we want to thank Kendra Phillips has driven down from Seattle in this weather on Friday night to join us because our usual cast member who plays Mary, Sarah Thiessen, who's from here at the Senior Center, she's having her opening night with the Heart Sparkle Players across the street. So we really thank Kendra for coming down. I also want to make sure that you realize that our narrator, Judy Oliver, through some oversight by someone who I don't know who, I left her out of the program. You might think that's Freudian. I'm not even going to touch that. Judy's the heart and soul of our effort. She's going to be our narrator tonight, as she is every night. We want you to think about democracy. Consider that it could be threatened. Our title alone, it can't happen here, hopefully causes people to ponder the possibilities that America's most precious product, democracy, can be put at risk due to a presidential election.
No.
This is not about Democrats or Republicans. It's about preserving the systems and institutions that govern our country. The more people hear, talk, and message about the show, the more people see the show, the more people will be attuned to acts and deeds that threaten our life. It Can't Happen Here was an important American play 80 years ago, and it is still relevant today. The show tells the story of Americans who believed in a presidential candidate who claimed he could defend and protect them, but only if the people trusted him and gave him unfettered power. The voters gave him that power. They believed dictatorship can't happen here. They were wrong. Please listen to these words from 80 years ago and think about how they resonate today. Consider the issues raised by the play, discuss them, and remember the phrase, "It can't happen here," when you consider exercising your voting privilege. Now, usually we do this at the end of the play, but I think we're not going to have that opportunity. So I'm going to take a couple minutes while we're still waiting for the last few people to maybe come. We have this banner, and we kind of consider this our guest book. And so if anyone would like to come up and sign it like many other folks have at some point, we would love to have your participation in that way. So we'll wait until 6:30 to actually start. So give us a couple, 3 or 4 minutes, and then we'll begin our show. Thank you. Right at the beginning. And that's going to be difficult. So we're going to have to speed some things up. So I'm going to have a few remarks now, and then we'll get started in a little bit. First, I want to thank everyone for coming. I know that in this weather, it was a big sacrifice for you, and we all really appreciate your coming. Thank you very much. We also have a couple of quick little notes. First, we want to thank Kendra Phillips has driven down from Seattle in this weather on Friday night to join us because our usual cast member who plays Mary, Sarah Thiessen, who's from here at the Senior Center, she's having her opening night with the Heart Sparkle Players across the street. So we really thank Kendra for coming down. I also want to make sure that you realize that our narrator, Judy Oliver, through some oversight by someone who I don't know who, I left her out of the program. You might think that's Freudian. I'm not even going to touch that. Judy's the heart and soul of our effort. She's going to be our narrator tonight, as she is every night. We want you to think about democracy. Consider that it could be threatened. Our title alone, "It Can't Happen Here," hopefully causes people to ponder the possibilities that America's most precious product, democracy, can be put at risk due to a presidential election.
No.
This is not about Democrats or Republicans. It's about preserving the systems and institutions that govern our country. The more people hear, talk, and message about the show, the more people see the show, the more people will be attuned to acts and deeds that threaten our life. It Can't Happen Here was an important American play 80 years ago, and it is still relevant today. The show tells the story of Americans who believed in a presidential candidate who claimed he could defend and protect them, but only if the people trusted him and gave him unfettered power. The voters gave him that power. They believed dictatorship can't happen here. They were wrong. Please listen to these words from 80 years ago and think about how they resonate today. Consider the issues raised by the play, discuss them, and remember the phrase, "It can't happen here," when you consider exercising your voting privilege. Now, usually we do this at the end of the play, but I think we're not going to have that opportunity. So I'm going to take a couple minutes while we're still waiting for the last few people to maybe come. We have this banner, and we kind of consider this our guest book. And so if anyone would like to come up and sign it like many other folks have at some point, we would love to have your participation in that way. So we'll wait until 6:30 to actually start. So give us a couple, 3 or 4 minutes, and then we'll begin our show. Thank you. Right in the middle. And that's going to be difficult. So we're going to have to speed some things up. So I'm going to have a few remarks now, and then we'll get started in a little bit. First, I want to thank everyone for coming. I know that in this weather, it was a big sacrifice for you, and we all really appreciate your coming. Thank you very much. We also have a couple of quick little notes. First, we want to thank Kendra Phillips has driven down from Seattle in this weather on Friday night to join us, because our usual cast member who plays Mary, Sarah Thiessen, who's from here at the Senior Center, she's having her opening night with the Heart Sparkle Players across the street. So we really thank Kendra for coming down. I also want to make sure that you realize that our narrator, Judy Oliver, through some oversight by someone who I don't know who, I left her out of the program. You might think that's Freudian. I'm not even going to touch that. Judy's the heart and soul of our effort. She's going to be our narrator tonight, as she is every night. We want you to think about democracy. Consider that it could be threatened. Our title alone, "It Can't Happen Here," hopefully causes people to ponder the possibilities that America's most precious product, democracy, can be put at risk due to a presidential election.
No.
This is not about Democrats or Republicans. It's about preserving the systems and institutions that govern our country. The more people hear, talk, and message about the show, the more people see the show, the more people will be attuned to acts and deeds that threaten our life. It Can't Happen Here was an important American play 80 years ago, and it is still relevant today. The show tells the story of Americans who believed in a presidential candidate who claimed he could defend and protect them, but only if the people trusted him and gave him unfettered power. The voters gave him that power. They believed dictatorship can't happen here. They were wrong. Please listen to these words from 80 years ago and think about how they resonate today. Consider the issues raised by the play, discuss them, and remember the phrase, "It can't happen here," when you consider exercising your voting privilege. Now, usually we do this at the end of the play, but I think we're not going to have that opportunity. So I'm going to take a couple minutes while we're still waiting for the last few people to maybe come. We have this banner, and we kind of consider this our guest book. And so if anyone would like to come up and sign it like many other folks have at some point, we would love to have your participation in that way. So we'll wait until 6:30 to actually start. So give us a couple, 3 or 4 minutes, and then we'll begin our show. Thank you.